At last, the stage is set for this trial's climactic testimony.
When Robert Baker takes that witness stand, that courthouse is full.
Did she have anything to do with the planning or the execution of the plan to kill Fabio Sementilli?
No.
Why did Robert Baker want Fabio dead? His response is brutally frank.
I murdered her because I wanted her. I wanted to have easier access. I wanted her to be around me and with me more, like all the time.
Baker then lays out the horrifying details of the fatal stabbing of Fabio Sementilli.
He got up real quick, and he grabbed me, and I'm struggling with him, and I'm trying to get away from him. He's a pretty big guy. Just try to get him off me, and just kept cutting until he stopped, until he got off me.
Now it's the moment everyone's been waiting for, as DA Beth Silverman begins her cross-examination of Robert Baker.
Did you think at all about the trauma that you would inflict for a lifetime on these two young girls and losing their father in their home in such a horrific manner?
No.
He's the man investigators have been waiting to hear from.
I look like a horrible person.
This interrogation...
This case has been going on for 7 years. It's been investigated for a long time. We've learned a lot of things along the way. 2 people are in custody. You were a piece that was still outstanding.
Christopher Austin finally arrested this past October, 7 years after the murder of celebrity stylist Fabio Sementilli.
Hey everybody, Fab here for Fab Style Fridays.
Talking about his alleged role in the stabbing inside this suburban Los Angeles home.
She was a mother, a champion hairdresser, and the kind of woman who made others feel seen. Fabio Sementilli adored her, his wife of over 2 decades. Together, they built a beautiful life in Los Angeles with their 3 children. But on one quiet January afternoon, their story shattered in the most brutal way possible. When the 911 call came in, it sounded routine. A man was down in the backyard, possibly a fall. But what paramedics found was anything but normal. Fabio lay in a pool of blood, stabbed and left for dead near the family's back patio. His car, a sleek, high-end Porsche, was gone. And so was any trace of who could have done this. The news stunned the tight-knit beauty industry. Fabio wasn't just well-known, he was beloved. He mentored countless hairstylists, judged international competitions, and treated his clients like family. His death didn't just shake his loved ones, it left an entire global community in disbelief.
I remember Mom and Dad bringing him home from the hospital. He was this beautiful 9-pound boy, 9 pounds. Blonde hair, sparkly blue eyes. He was just beautiful.
So love at first sight.
Love at first sight. We were very close. He appreciated his sisters because we helped out a lot with Mom working so hard. We would take him to school. We would help him with homework. He was this amazing boy, little boy, that picked up quick.
Oh my God, he was such a good boy. He was a ham. Great brother, great to, spend time with. He walked me down the aisle. Yeah, and he walked my sister, my elder sister, and he was so cute. And he was so proud of that moment.
Amongst our friend group, he made it to the top. That's it. He took his family to America and climbed the highest hill, the highest mountain, and made it. And was loved.
Even as an adult, I'm still soaking in how big of a deal he was. I'll go into a salon, random salon, and I'll talk to the hairdresser, just making small talk, and eventually through what I say, they find out who he is, and then the clippers stop, and the hair cutting stops, and then all of a sudden other stylists are coming up to me wanting to shake my hand and look at pictures and stuff. He was an inescapable phenomenon of Canadian hairdressing, absolutely.
This is what Team Modali does, and this is where they do it.
Everybody wanted to be with Fabio. He drew you in. He drew you in. And when you had a chance to talk to him, he made everyone feel like you're the most important person in this room. and I want to talk to you. Even if it was 30 seconds a minute, the person walked away like, oh, that was Fabio. That was Fabio. Had a chance to talk to Fabio.
He was larger than life. He was like such a special person, a beautiful soul.
And he's got this legacy that keeps going even though he's gone.
That's right, and this legacy that people hold on to, all the memories that they spent in time with him, people that he worked for, friendship. Oh my goodness, it's enormous.
But no one was more devastated than his 3 children, especially his daughters, who adored their father beyond words. And in their heartbreak, one question echoed louder than the rest. Who could have hated him enough to do this? The answer, when it finally came, wasn't just shocking, it was gutting. Because it didn't come from a stranger or a jealous rival. It came from inside the home. From someone he loved. Someone he trusted. Someone who shared his last name. What could drive a person to betray their own family in such a brutal way? And how did they think they'd get away with it? This is the story of Fabio Sementilli's final moments, and the betrayal that tore his family apart. Have you ever seen a case where someone you trusted turned out to be capable of something like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more true stories you won't believe. Fabio Sementilli didn't just cut hair, he shaped futures. Born in Toronto to Italian immigrants, he started with a humble pair of scissors and a relentless work ethic. By the time he was in his 20s, he had become a rising star in the hairstyling world, known for both his technical skill and his deep respect for the craft. But it wasn't just talent that made Fabio stand out. It was heart. Colleagues described him as uplifting and fiercely loyal. He wasn't interested in just winning awards. Though he had plenty, he wanted to see others succeed. Whether you were a novice stylist or a seasoned professional, Fabio treated you like a partner. He believed there was room for everyone at the table. He was also a dedicated husband and a hands-on father. Friends say that no matter how packed his travel schedule was, he always made time for his kids. He coached their soccer teams, helped with school projects, and rarely missed a family dinner. Home, to Fabio, wasn't just a place, it was his sanctuary. By the time the Sementilli family moved from Canada to Los Angeles, Fabio was already a well-known figure in the beauty industry. He had taken on a major leadership role at Wella, a global hair care company, and mentored stylists across North America. Yet despite his success, he remained grounded. His Instagram wasn't filled with red carpets or luxury cars. It was full of his daughter's art, his wife's home-cooked meals, and snapshots of laughter-filled weekends. To those who knew him, Fabio wasn't just a professional icon, he was a good man. The kind of man who left little thank you notes for his coworkers. The kind who reminded his team to believe in themselves. The kind who would leave a legacy not just of beauty, but of kindness. So when he was found brutally murdered outside his own home, the grief was overwhelming. Not just for his family, but for everyone whose life he had touched. There was no warning, no explanation. Just a gaping hole where something good used to be. And that's what made what happened next so unbearable.
Now to California for the celebrity stylist murder trial. Monica Sementilli is accused of plotting with her lover, Robert Baker, to kill her husband for the insurance money. A third man, Christopher Austin, was also enlisted to help carry out the murder. He pleaded guilty in January to second-degree murder and is expected to testify against Sementilli next week. Right now, let's get you back into court where Sementilli's oldest daughter, Jessica, is testifying on direct examination by the state. She is recounting what happened right after the murder.
Okay.
At around 5 p.m., one of Fabio's daughters came home from school. She walked through the house like any other day, expecting to hear music from her father's office or the buzz of clippers from the back patio where he sometimes worked. But there was nothing, just silence. Then she stepped outside. That's when she saw him, her father, slumped over on the patio, covered in blood. He wasn't breathing. She ran back inside and called 911, her voice shaking as she told the dispatcher her dad was unconscious, possibly not alive. First responders arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. Fabio Sementilli had been stabbed multiple times in the neck, chest, and back. The attack was frenzied, violent. Whoever did this didn't want to just hurt him, they wanted to finish him. A pool of blood surrounded his body, but nothing in the house had been taken. The TV was still mounted. Jewelry was untouched. The front door showed no signs of forced entry. At first glance, it looked like a robbery gone wrong. But detectives quickly began to question that theory. Something about it didn't sit right.
I would say no, but the overall planning and that we believe she is directly involved.
Detectives say Baker, who spent time in prison for lewd and lascivious acts on a child and is a registered sex offender, has been the lover of Miss Sementilli for at least a year and a half. They say, based on DNA evidence and video evidence, he was involved in the stabbing. A second man, who they describe only as about 5'5", his face covered on the video, is still at large. Again, Miss Sementilli was nowhere near the murder scene, but detectives make it very clear. She planned it and orchestrated it.
Fabio's Porsche, however, was missing. It had been parked in the driveway earlier that day. The idea of a carjacking started to float around, but even that felt off. The neighborhood was a quiet, upscale part of Woodland Hills, not the kind of place where cars vanished in broad daylight. And why attack someone with such brutal force just to steal a car? Security cameras in the area were reviewed, and soon, investigators found footage of the Porsche being driven out of the neighborhood by an unknown man. He wore a hoodie and had his face partially covered, but the movement was deliberate, confident, even. Then came a break. The Porsche was found abandoned a few days later in a parking lot in Inglewood, nearly 30 miles away. It was wiped clean. No fingerprints. No DNA. Whoever had driven it knew exactly what they were doing. Back at the house, investigators kept combing through evidence. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no smashed windows. That suggested one chilling possibility: someone had either been let in or already had access. In the hours and days that followed, detectives began to peel back the layers of Fabio's life. Was there anyone who might have wanted him gone? Any threats? Any signs of trouble at home? To outsiders, the Sementilli family looked picture perfect. But behind closed doors, tensions had been simmering for years. And soon attention shifted from the outside to the inside. It wasn't just about who did it. The question became, who would benefit most from Fabio Sementilli's death? And as investigators started to pull phone records, trace financial documents, and cross-check alibis, one name began to appear again and again. Someone much closer than anyone had first imagined.
I'm going to ask you some questions then about Rob Baker. Now, there was a time before the murder, back in 2016, where you saw Rob in your house, right?
Yes.
How many times before the murder had you seen Rob in your house?
That was the only time before that I saw him in the house.
Okay. And can you tell us well, first of all, was there a time when you found him in your mom's bedroom in her bed?
Yes.
What time frame are we talking about, if you remember?
I don't remember the time frame, but I think I was already graduated from high school. I was going to class or I was going to work. So around that time. 2016?
Yes. Okay. So in 2016 then, one day, can you explain what you remember happening, how you found him?
Yes, I went to my mother's bathroom to take mascara or something because I like to do my mascara in her bathroom. And I didn't notice anything, but when I came out, I noticed Rob in her bed.
And what time was that?
It was in the morning, so I don't know, 10, 11 a.m., maybe earlier.
Did you tell the police about 7 a.m.?
Maybe. Sure, if I was working, then that's 7 a.m.
Okay. Not trying to trick you, I just want to...
No, I just don't remember.
Okay. 7 a.m., you went into your mom's bedroom, right?
Yes.
And I say that because at the time, did your dad sleep in the other room?
Yes.
All right. So you went into your mom's bedroom, and what did you see?
I went to the bathroom first, and then when I left the bathroom, I saw Rob in the bed.
And you recognized him?
Yes.
How did you know what he looked like?
Because I went to LA Fitness, and I knew that he was the racquetball coach, whatever, there.
Had you seen your mom playing racquetball with him before that?
Sure, yes.
As days passed, the investigation into Fabio Sementilli's brutal murder seemed to lead in unexpected directions. The initial suspicion of a random robbery quickly faded. There were no signs of forced entry, and the security footage confirmed that the killer didn't fit the profile of a typical burglar. That's when the detectives began to look at the people closest to Fabio. His wife, Cheryl, was interviewed several times. On the surface, their marriage appeared solid. They had been together for over 2 decades and had 2 young daughters. Yet, as detectives dug deeper, a different picture started to emerge. Fabio was a successful hairdresser, known for working with some of Hollywood's elite. He had built a reputation that allowed him to live comfortably in a high-end neighborhood. But there were whispers that he had been struggling financially in recent years, despite his apparent success. His lavish lifestyle didn't always align with his bank statements. Cheryl, meanwhile, had been seeking a larger share of the wealth. Detectives learned that she had recently hired a divorce attorney, something Fabio had not known about. In the midst of a possible divorce, things had started to escalate. Fabio had made some questionable decisions, including one large financial investment that had gone south, leaving him vulnerable. But Cheryl's involvement in the murder didn't seem to fit the initial profile. She had no criminal record, and her alibi checked out. As the investigation continued, another name surfaced, a name that shocked the detectives and brought the investigation even closer to home. Fabio's longtime employee, Christopher Austin, had worked for him for several years. Austin was a quiet man, soft-spoken, and often seen around the house when Fabio was not available.
We had this case that's been going on for 7 years. It's been investigated for a long time. We've learned a lot of things along the way. 2 people are in custody. You were a piece that was still outstanding.
He had been a trusted member of Fabio's circle, trusted enough to be in close proximity when things began to unravel. As the police scrutinized Austin's background, they uncovered a chilling connection. In the months leading up to the murder, Austin had been struggling with his own financial issues. He had recently been fired from another job, and rumors swirled that he had become increasingly resentful of Fabio. He was no longer just an employee, there were whispers of a broken relationship, of growing animosity. Austin's phone records revealed a disturbing pattern. He had made several calls to Cheryl in the weeks before the murder. And then there were the text messages, cryptic, sometimes angry, and always referencing money. The messages suggested there was more than just professional tension between the two. But what really set the alarm bells ringing was the discovery of an insurance policy that had been taken out just weeks before Fabio's death, one that would benefit Cheryl and Christopher Austin. The detectives were now looking at a clear potential motive: money. The shocking truth was that the two of them, Cheryl and Austin, had been working together, plotting the murder, driven by the hope that Fabio's life insurance policy would provide them with the financial freedom they had both been craving.
The reality is, given the evidence that we already had while you're arrested, you're not leaving today.
Being charged.
I'm sorry?
Am I being charged?
You are going to be charged.
Austin was arrested in Washington state. Prosecutors allege he was hired to help kill Fabio and was flown in by Robert Baker, a family member with whom he has a close relationship.
I mean, what do you call him? Do you call him Rob?
I just call him
Unc.
Just
Okay.
That's what I've called him.
Robert Baker is a racquetball instructor who was having an affair with Sementilli's wife, Monica. Baker pleaded no contest to murder charges and was sentenced to 30 years behind bars. He never directly implicated Monica in the murder.
They both had a stake in his death. But the investigation was far from over. The deeper the detectives dug into Austin's past, the more twisted the story became. They began to uncover a history of petty crime, mounting debts, and a dark side that Austin had kept hidden for years. And as they closed in on Austin, a final piece of the puzzle fell into place.
I mean, what can you do as a DA for me to see my girls? At the end of the day, I only care about seeing my girls.
As Austin is speaking to investigators, he's worried that he won't see his family again.
We just need you to be truthful.
Austin says on the day of the murder, Baker was getting calls from Monica.
It was like, we can go up there now. She told me he was gone.
Okay.
he had been on his phone talking and texting. Like I said, he don't really talk around me like that all the time. But it seemed like he was getting all the information from her.
The moment detectives were confident they had enough evidence to charge Christopher Austin, they made their move. On a quiet morning, Austin was arrested at his apartment. As the police arrived, he was calm, almost eerily so. But when the detectives presented him with the mounting evidence against him, his demeanor began to change. His face flushed and he seemed to struggle for words. But it wasn't enough to hide the panic in his eyes. Austin was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud. The evidence against him was damning. The phone records, the texts with Cheryl, and the insurance policy pointed to a premeditated plot to kill Fabio Sementilli. But the most chilling part was how easy it had been for Austin to slip into this role. Trusted employee, confidant, and ultimately, a killer.
I'm the daughter who found the dead body you killed. Something that I will never get out of my head for my entire life. You had the audacity to cry on the stand in your testimony, saying how ashamed you are. That was a very nice act, but no one has sympathy for you. And if they do, they're just as delusional as you are. Congratulations to the prosecution for knowing who murdered my dad the first night and letting him roam the streets for 6 months. That was a nice one. And the court system for letting a murderer back on the streets on good behavior. Even better. I don't understand how you all fall asleep at night. Christopher Austin deserves a full sentence. He was there, he made the choice to kill somebody, and followed through. How does that warrant only 15 years? I will fight for you to rot in prison for the rest of your life. It's interesting you changed your story after getting a deal. A real honest man you are. If you get out on good behavior, you get to walk your daughter down the aisle, watch your grandkids grow up, and start over. Lucky you. We will never have any of that, and we didn't deserve that to happen to us. All because of you. To those who are cheering for my mom's life sentence, make sure you understand what you're actually cheering for. A killer to be released early. Wishing you a horrible life after your release would be the easy thing to do. Instead of standing here and insulting you, we just wish that you will be forgotten about. We hope your daughter wants nothing to do with you, and we hope she has a father figure in her life to show her what a real man is, because you are not one.
Cheryl Sementilli, though initially a suspect, was also arrested but later released after her involvement became less direct. While detectives believed she had been a key player in the plan, the evidence against her was more circumstantial. But it was clear that without her actions and her financial motive, Austin's crime may never have happened. Austin's trial was a spectacle, one that gripped the media and public alike. The courtroom was filled with spectators, including Fabio's friends, family, and colleagues, all hoping to finally see justice for the man whose life had been brutally stolen from him.
Daniel, and I'm the nephew of Fabio Sementilli. To the one who murdered my uncle Fabio, I won't call you a man. You gave up the moment you took a life. You're a husband and you're a father, but it means nothing. Real men build families. You destroy them. You didn't just kill Fabio. You stole him from us, and now I want you to sit there with this truth for the rest of your miserable life. You ended a good man's life for nothing. For nothing. Fabio wasn't some nameless face. He was my uncle. He was loved by all, and he was part of the core of our family. And now he's gone, forever because of you. You didn't just destroy one life. You destroyed a line of memories we'll never get to make. He'll never get to grow old. He'll never get to see his family grow. And the worst part, his mother, my grandmother, died grieving her only son, her baby boy. She never recovered. She died with a broken heart from the pain of losing her son. That's on you. Imagine the shame your daughter will live with, knowing the truth that her father is the one who took another father's life. How will she ever see you in the same way again, knowing the man that she calls dad is nothing but a murderer, a man who robbed her of the one thing every child deserves, a real father?
The prosecution laid out the case step by step, showing how Austin's financial desperation and resentment toward Fabio had built up over time, culminating in murder. As the defense tried to downplay Austin's involvement, claiming that he had been manipulated by Cheryl, the prosecution revealed further damning evidence. The police uncovered a recording of a phone conversation between Austin and Cheryl the day before Fabio's death. In it, Cheryl could be heard advising Austin on how to make the murder look like a robbery gone wrong and how to cover his tracks. The chilling words and the calculated nature of the conversation left no doubt in the jury's mind about Austin's involvement. The defense attempted to shift the blame to Cheryl, claiming she had been the mastermind, but the evidence overwhelmingly pointed to Austin as the one who carried out the gruesome act. In the face of this evidence, Austin's defense crumbled. The trial lasted several weeks, with testimonies from family, friends, and colleagues of Fabio Sementilli, all painting a picture of a man who had been loved and respected by those around him. But the true weight of the tragedy was felt when Fabio's daughters took the stand.
Instead of standing here and insulting you, we just wish that you will be forgotten about. We hope your daughter wants nothing to do with you, and we hope she has a father figure in her life to show her what a real man is, because you are not one. You are a coward, stupid enough to blindly trust someone like Robert Baker. We can confidently say that you ruined our life, and we hope that you rot in hell, because no murderer deserves salvation. Over the years, my sister and I have been called brainwashed. Let me set this record straight and say that's not true at all. We are just two daughters who lost two parents trying to navigate life after a horrific trauma. Just because we are not media hungry doesn't mean we are clueless. We've approached the situation with integrity and class to the Sementilli last name, which is something both our parents taught us from a young age. I'd like to see anyone in this room, those watching on TV, and those who sent us hate messages to try to be in our shoes for a day and see if they can endure even half of what my sister and I have endured for the last 8 years, and to come out of it stronger than ever, surrounded by love and support. This part of our story does not define us, and we will share our story one day. But for now, we will continue to bring peace back.
Their words were heart-wrenching as they spoke about the father they lost and how his murder had shattered their lives. The jury deliberated for a few hours before returning with a verdict, guilty on all charges.
To take prison for the term prescribed by law, which in this case is 15 years to life. Pursuant to Section 12022, Section B, Section 1, has led an additional consecutive 1 year in state prison.
As Austin was sentenced to life in prison, the courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions. Fabio's family could finally begin the slow process of healing, but the pain of his loss would never truly fade. Christopher Austin's life, meanwhile, had been forever altered, and he would spend the rest of his years behind bars. In the aftermath of the trial, life for the Sementilli family was irrevocably changed. For Cheryl, the consequences of her actions were far-reaching, even if she was never convicted of murder. While she wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, her role in conspiring with Austin to kill her husband left a stain on her life that could never be erased. Her daughters, once living in a world of luxury and comfort, were now left to pick up the shattered pieces of their childhoods. As for Christopher Austin, the life sentence handed down to him was only the beginning of his punishment. Behind bars, he would have to reckon with the full weight of his crime, the guilt of taking a man's life for money. But no amount of time in prison could bring back Fabio Sementilli or undo the damage he had caused to the family that loved him. While the criminal case was closed, the emotional wounds ran deep. Fabio's friends and colleagues spoke of how his death left a void in the community, particularly in the hairdressing world, where he had been highly regarded. His legacy, it seemed, was overshadowed by the tragic and senseless way he lost his life. For the Sementilli daughters, their father's death wasn't just the loss of a parent, it was the loss of a future they had once imagined. As they navigated life without their father, they were left to cope with the trauma of the betrayal by their own mother, someone who was supposed to protect them above all else. In interviews after the trial, they revealed that they struggled with feelings of anger and confusion. How could their mother, a woman who had been a part of their lives for so long, have been involved in such a monstrous act? The aftermath also had a wider impact on the community. It served as a grim reminder of how money, greed, and desperation can drive individuals to commit acts of unthinkable violence. Many were shocked that someone so close to the victim, trusted by Fabio, and seen as a part of his inner circle, could be capable of such a betrayal. It highlighted the hidden dangers that could lie behind even the most familiar faces. From a broader perspective, this case became an example of how betrayal and manipulation can fuel violent crimes. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, the people closest to us may not always have our best interests at heart. The tragic outcome of the Sementilli case was a painful lesson about the destructive power of selfishness and deceit, and how these forces can disrupt not just one life, but many. Through all the pain and suffering, there was one positive outcome. The case prompted discussions about domestic abuse, financial strain, and the ways in which relationships can break down under pressure. It also highlighted the importance of understanding the signs of manipulation and deceit, and how vital it is to be aware of the motivations of those around us. The Sementilli case also sparked conversations about the criminal justice system. Many wondered how someone like Christopher Austin, who had been trusted so implicitly by his employer, could carry out such a cold-blooded act. It led to a closer examination of how people with criminal backgrounds or hidden resentments can slip through the cracks, even when their behavior seems normal on the surface. As the years passed, Fabio's legacy lived on through his work, his friends, and his family. His daughters, though forever scarred by the events, began to rebuild their lives. They spoke openly about their father's death, using their story as a way to raise awareness about the dangers of manipulation and the importance of being vigilant in relationships, no matter how close or seemingly secure. The tragic death of Fabio Sementilli, a man whose life was cut short by those he trusted most, serves as a chilling reminder of the complexity of human relationships and the darkness that can exist behind closed doors. This case leaves us with difficult questions about betrayal, the lengths to which people will go for money, and the impact of greed on families and communities. It underscores the devastating consequences of manipulation and deceit, and how they can lead to irreparable harm. For the Sementilli daughters, the loss of their father will never be fully healed. Their journey through grief, betrayal, and the public spectacle of the trial was a painful one, but it also helped them find their strength and resilience. Through the pain, they found a way to honor their father's memory, sharing their story in the hopes of helping others avoid similar tragedies. In the larger scope, this case serves as a lesson for us all. It's a stark reminder of the importance of trust and honesty in relationships, and how quickly that trust can be shattered. While no one can undo the tragedy that occurred, the story of Fabio's life and death offers a chance for reflection and a deeper understanding of the fragility of human connections. Ultimately, the Sementilli case proves that no one is immune to the dangers that can lie in the shadows, even when we think we are safe. Trust is a fragile thing, and we must always be cautious in placing it in the hands of others, no matter how familiar they may seem. The Sementilli daughters have emerged from this darkness with a renewed sense of purpose, and though the scars will remain, their journey to healing continues.